Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main viewport. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 weeks now, far beyond the edge of mapped territory. This was exactly the kind of mission he loved, pushing into the unknown, discovering what lay beyond the borders of civilized space. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings from the engine room," called out Ryan Bell from the communications station. The young officer's voice carried a note of concern that made Jake turn away from the stars. "What kind of readings?" Jake asked, walking over to look at the display screens. "Power fluctuations in the main drive system. Chief Adams says it started about 20 minutes ago." Jake pressed the intercom button. "Tracy, what's the situation down there?" The voice of Chief Engineer Tracy Adams crackled back through the speakers. "Not good, Captain. The containment field is becoming unstable. I'm seeing microfractures in the primary coupling that weren't there this morning." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her research station near the back of the bridge. The xenobiologist had been working with data from their last planetary survey, but now her attention was focused on the conversation. "How serious is it?" she asked. "Serious enough that we need to drop out of faster-than-light travel right now," Tracy replied. "If this field collapses while we're moving at warp speed, we'll be scattered across half the galaxy." Jake felt his stomach tighten. They were days away from the nearest space station and weeks from any major hub. "Do it. Drop us to normal space. Immediately." The ship shuddered as it fell out of warp. Through the viewport, the stars shifted from streaks of light back to their normal points. Jake could feel the vibration in the deck plates as the engines powered down to emergency levels. "Ryan, send a message to Deep Space Command. Let them know our position and status." "Already on it, Captain." Dr. Carter walked over to stand beside Jake. "How long until we can get moving again?" "That depends on what Tracy finds down there. Could be hours, could be days." Jake tried to keep his voice calm, but he knew they were in trouble. The New Horizon was a research vessel, not a military ship. They carried basic emergency supplies, but they weren't equipped for extended survival in deep space. The bridge door slid open, and Kethvan entered. The Zanari scientist moved with the fluid grace common to his species, his pale blue skin almost glowing under the bridge lights. Where humans were built solid and compact, the Zanari were tall and thin, with large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Dr. Carter, I have finished analyzing the samples from the third planet," Kethvan said in his soft musical voice. "The biological diversity is remarkable. I believe we have discovered at least 40 new species of plant life." "That's wonderful, Kethvan, but we have a more immediate problem right now." Lisa quickly explained the engine situation. The Zanari's large eyes grew even wider. "This is most troubling. My people have a saying, to be stranded between stars is to be forgotten by the universe." "Well, we're not forgotten yet," Jake said. "Ryan, any response from command?" "Message sent, Captain. At this distance, it'll take about 6 hours for the signal to reach Earth and another 6 for any reply." Jake nodded. 12 hours minimum before they even knew if help was coming. He was about to respond when alarms began blaring throughout the ship. "Captain!" The voice of Security Chief Matt Rodriguez came through the intercom. "We have multiple contacts approaching fast. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Jake rushed to the tactical display. 5 ships were moving toward them, their designs unlike anything in the database. They were angular and aggressive-looking, with weapon ports clearly visible along their hulls. "Hail them," Jake ordered. Ryan worked at his station for several seconds before shaking his head. "They're not responding to any standard frequencies, Captain, but they are scanning us with some kind of high-intensity beam." Dr. Carter grabbed Jake's arm. "Those aren't Zanari ships, and they're not from any other species in the Alliance. Who are they?" Before Jake could answer, the ship rocked violently. Emergency lights began flashing as the main power flickered. "Direct hit to our port side," Matt reported. "Minimal damage, but that was just a warning shot." "Warning shot?" Jake stared at the tactical display. "From who?" His question was answered a moment later when a new voice came through the communication system. It was harsh and guttural, speaking in a language none of them recognized. But the universal translator quickly provided a translation that made Jake's blood run cold. Alien vessel. You have entered territory claimed by the Vorthak Empire. Surrender. Immediately or be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to comply. Jake looked around the bridge. The New Horizon was a research ship with minimal defensive capabilities. The 5 alien vessels surrounding them were clearly military craft, bristling with weapons. There was no way to fight, and with their engines damaged, there was no way to run. Keithavan, have you ever heard of the Vorthak Empire? The Zanari scientist's skin had turned a shade paler. No, Captain Morrison. This is the first contact with this species, but their message suggests they are not interested in peaceful communication. 30 seconds remaining, the alien voice announced. Jake closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of his crew, 23 humans and 5 Zanari scientists, all depending on his decision. There was really only one choice. Ryan, open a channel. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the research vessel New Horizon. We surrender. We are having engine problems and pose no threat to anyone. The response came back immediately. Surrender accepted. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction. Jake looked at his crew. Dr. Carter was standing straight, her jaw set with determination. Keithavan appeared frightened but was trying to hide it. Ryan was still working at his station, and Jake could see the young man's hands shaking slightly. All hands, this is the captain, Jake announced over the ship's intercom. We are about to be boarded by an unknown alien force. Do not resist. I repeat, do not resist. Everyone remain calm and follow their instructions. As the alien ships moved into docking positions, Jake made one final decision. Ryan, did you get that emergency message sent to Earth before they arrived? Yes, Captain. It went out just before the first ship appeared on sensors. Good. Jake straightened his uniform and prepared to meet their captors. At least Earth would know what happened to them. Whether that would make any difference was another question entirely. The ship shuddered again as the alien vessels made contact with their hull. Through the viewport, Jake could see armored figures moving through connecting tubes toward the New Horizon's airlocks. In a few minutes, he would come, face to face with the Vorthak Empire. He just hoped his crew would survive the encounter. Admiral Patricia Hayes was reviewing supply reports when the emergency communication alert sounded in her office. The sharp tone cut through the quiet of Deep Space Command headquarters, making her look up from the data screens covering her desk. Admiral, we have a priority distress signal from the New Horizon, announced Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner as he entered her office. The young officer's face was grim as he handed her a data pad. Patricia read the message quickly, her expression growing darker with each line. A research vessel captured by an unknown hostile force calling itself the Vorthak Empire. Engine failure had left them stranded, defenseless against superior numbers. Captain Morrison's final transmission included their exact coordinates and a warning about the aggressive nature of their captors. How long ago did we receive this? The signal reached us 18 minutes ago, Admiral. Given the transmission delay, the actual capture occurred about 6.5 hours ago. Patricia stood up and walked to the large window overlooking the orbital shipyard. Dozens of vessels floated in the construction bays, from small patrol craft to massive cargo haulers. But her eyes were drawn to the restricted section, where ships of a very different nature waited in the shadows. Get me Colonel Ben Parker immediately. Priority Alpha clearance. Yes, Admiral. While waiting for the connection, Patricia activated her personal communication array. What happened next would require coordination far beyond Earth's immediate defenses. She began sending coded messages to facilities that officially did not exist, to commanders whose names appeared on no public records. The main screen in her office flickered to life, showing Colonel Parker's weathered face. Behind him, Patricia could see the interior of a military facility that few people knew existed. Admiral Hayes, I assume this is about the captured research vessel. You've already been briefed? The moment that signal reached Earth, every black site commander in the system got an alert. We've been waiting for something like this for 50 years. Patricia nodded. When humanity first made contact with the Zanari, The politicians and scientists had celebrated a new age of peaceful cooperation. But military leaders like Patricia and Ben had spent those 50 years preparing for a very different possibility. What's your assessment, Colonel? 23 humans and 5 Zanari scientists in hostile hands. Unknown enemy capabilities, but they were confident enough to attack a vessel in open space. That suggests either overwhelming numbers or superior technology. Or both. Or both, Ben agreed. Either way, we can't let this stand. If we don't respond, every hostile species in the galaxy will see humans as easy targets. Patricia pulled up a star chart showing the New Horizons' last known position. The coordinates put them deep in unexplored space, far from any friendly territory. How quickly can you deploy? The Vengeance is fully loaded and ready for immediate departure. First Colonial Marine Expeditionary Forces aboard and equipped for extended operations. We can launch within 2 hours. Do it. The screen switched to show Dr. Amanda Ross at the Saul Defense Institute. The scientist's normally calm demeanor showed signs of strain. Amanda, what do you have for me? I've been analyzing the transmission data. The Vorthak Empire is completely unknown to our databases. No previous contact, no references in Zanari records, nothing. But their communication patterns suggest a highly organized military structure. Military how? The surrender demand was delivered with precise timing and clear consequences. This wasn't a random pirate attack. These people have experience taking prisoners and making demands. Patricia felt a chill run down her spine. Pirates might be cruel, but they usually wanted something they could trade or sell. Military conquest implied very different intentions. Her communication board lit up with incoming messages from across the solar system. Base commanders were checking in, requesting orders, confirming readiness status. Within minutes, she was coordinating the largest military mobilization since the Colony Wars. Admiral Alex Turner appeared at her side again. We're getting responses from Luna Base, Mars Command, and the Titan Research Station. Research Station? Yes, Admiral. Apparently they have some capabilities we weren't fully aware of. Patricia smiled grimly. The public knew about humanity's colonies and research facilities scattered throughout the solar system. What they didn't know was that many of those installations had secondary purposes that had nothing to do with scientific research. On her main display, Colonel Parker was still waiting. Ben, you'll have support from multiple vectors. This won't be a solo mission. Understood. What about the diplomatic angle? Before Patricia could answer, another screen activated. Ambassador Veltar, the Zanari representative to Earth, appeared. His usually calm blue features showed clear signs of distress. Admiral Hayes, I have just learned of the situation. This is most disturbing news. Ambassador, we're organizing a rescue operation. Your people will be brought home safely. I do not question your intentions, Admiral, but I fear you do not understand what you are contemplating. Military action against an unknown species could have consequences far beyond this single incident. Patricia studied the alien diplomat's face. Veltar had worked with humans for decades, but she realized he had only ever seen humanity's peaceful side. Ambassador, with respect, I think you're the one who doesn't understand. These Vorthak have taken our people. That changes everything. Admiral, surely diplomatic contact should be attempted first. Perhaps this is simply a misunderstanding. They fired on a disabled research vessel and took prisoners. There's no misunderstanding here. Veltar's large eyes seemed to grow even larger. But military action could escalate the situation. Your species has no experience with interstellar warfare. Patricia exchanged a look with Colonel Parker on the screen. Both of them understood something that their alien ally did not. Ambassador, humans have been preparing for interstellar warfare since the day we first learned we weren't alone in the universe. What we lack in experience, we make up for in planning. But surely the Zanari approach of peaceful negotiation would be more appropriate. The Zanari approach assumes the other side wants to negotiate. The Vorthak made their position clear when they opened fire. Patricia turned back to Colonel Parker. How long until you reach the target coordinates? 18 days at maximum speed. But Admiral, we won't be going in alone. I'm reading multiple friendly contacts converging on the same region. That's correct. Operation Homecoming is now active across all theaters. Veltar looked confused. Operation Homecoming? I am not familiar with this term. It's a contingency plan we developed for exactly this situation. When humans are taken by hostile forces, we bring them home. All of them. As Patricia watched the displays showing ships launching from hidden bases throughout human space, she realized that 50 years of peaceful cooperation were about to end. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's friendly exterior had been hiding something much more dangerous. The Vorthak Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that humans were just another peaceful species to be conquered and enslaved. They were about to discover that Earth had produced something very different, a species that considered warfare not an aberration, but a natural state that required constant preparation. The rescue of the New Horizon would be just the beginning. Matt Rodriguez sat in the cramped holding cell, his back against the metal wall. The Vorthak had separated the humans from their Zanari colleagues 12 hours ago, throwing them into different sections of what appeared to be a massive prison facility. The cell was barely large enough for the 5 humans crammed inside, with Tracy Adams sitting across from him and Ryan Bell pacing in the small space available. "Any idea what they want with us?" Tracy asked, examining a bruise on her arm where a Vorthak guard had grabbed her too roughly. "Information, probably," Matt replied. "They kept asking about Earth's defenses and our military capabilities." Ryan stopped pacing and looked at them. "What did you tell them?" "The truth. We're a research vessel with minimal weapons. We're explorers, not soldiers." Through the energy barrier that served as their cell door, they could see other prisoners in similar cells. Matt had counted at least 6 different species, all looking defeated and hopeless. Some had been here for months based on their conversations. "The Vorthak don't negotiate," said a voice from the cell across the corridor. The speaker was a reptilian creature with dark green scales and 4 arms. "I am Commander Sektal of the Hegemony Defense Force. My ship was captured 8 months ago." "What happened to your crew?" Matt asked. "The useful ones work in their factories. The others were sent to labor camps on their colony worlds. The Vorthak Empire has been expanding for 3 centuries. They take what they want and destroy what they cannot use." Tracy moved closer to the energy barrier. "How many species have they conquered?" 17 that I know of. Maybe more by now." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. 3. Vorthak guards approached, their reptilian features hidden behind battle armor. The one in front was larger than the others, with distinctive markings that suggested higher rank. "You are the humans," the lead guard said in heavily accented English. "I am Captain Vekthul. You will answer questions." The energy barrier flickered off, and 2 guards entered the cell. One grabbed Matt by the arm and hauled him to his feet. The grip was strong, but not stronger than Matt had expected. These aliens were tough, but they weren't superhuman. "Where are you taking him?" Tracy demanded. "Interrogation. He will return when we are finished." Matt was led down a series of corridors to a larger room filled with equipment he didn't recognize. Captain Vekthul gestured for him to sit in a chair at the center of the room. "You will tell us about Earth's military strength. I already told your people everything I know. The New Horizon is a research vessel. We don't have any information about military matters." Vekthul activated a device that projected images into the air above them. The pictures showed various human ships and facilities, clearly taken from long-range surveillance. "We have been watching your species for some time. Your ships appear to be civilian in nature, but our intelligence suggests this may not be complete truth." Matt studied the images. They showed orbital platforms around Earth, ships moving between planets. The usual traffic of a spacefaring civilization. Nothing in the pictures looked particularly military to him. "I don't know what you're looking for, but those look like normal civilian operations to me. Your species achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. Most species require centuries to develop such technology. This suggests significant industrial and scientific capabilities. We had good teachers. The Zanari helped us understand the principles." Vekthul made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Zanari are philosophers and scientists. They do not teach military applications, yet your species developed independently. Maddie shrugged. Humans are good at learning new things quickly. Tell me about your homeworld. Earth? It's a nice planet. Oceans, continents, about 7 billion people living normal lives. What is the surface gravity? Standard gravity. Same as most inhabited worlds, I think. Vekthul consulted a datapad. Our measurements indicate Earth's gravity is significantly higher than standard, nearly twice what most species consider normal. Matt frowned. He had never thought about it, but now that Vekthul mentioned it, he realized that most of the aliens he had met did seem physically weaker than humans. I guess we're used to it. What other environmental factors exist on your world? Environmental factors? Weather patterns, geological activity, predatory species. Matt thought about how to answer. We have weather, storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and volcanoes. As for predators, most of the dangerous animals are either extinct or live, in remote areas. Describe these dangerous animals. Well, there are big cats that can kill a person, bears that weigh half a ton, sharks in the oceans, snakes with venom that can drop you in minutes. But like I said, most people never encounter them. Vekthul was quiet for a long moment, studying his datapad. Your species evolved on a world with twice normal gravity, extreme weather events, seismic instability, and large predators. When you put it like that, it sounds worse than it is. How many wars has your species fought? Wars? I don't know. Hundreds, probably. Maybe thousands, if you count all the small ones. Thousands of wars. Humans fight a lot, it's just what we do. But we've gotten better at avoiding the really big ones. Vekthul stood up abruptly and walked to the far side of the room. He activated a communication device and began speaking rapidly in his own language. Matt could only catch a few words, but the tone suggested urgency. When the captain returned, his demeanor had changed. He looked at Matt with what might have been concern. You say fighting is what humans do naturally? Pretty much. We compete over everything. Resources, territory, ideas, sports, you name it. Most of it stays peaceful, but sometimes it doesn't. And your people consider this normal? Sure. Competition makes us stronger. It's how we solve problems and figure out who's best at what. Vekthul made more notes on his datapad. What happens when your species encounters a threat? Matt thought. About the question. We fight it. That's what humans do when something threatens us or our people. We fight until we win or we're all dead. Even against superior numbers? Especially against superior numbers. Those are the best fights. Captain Vekthul stared at him for a long moment. Then he called for the guards to return Matt to his cell. As they walked back through the corridors, Matt could hear the captain speaking urgently into his communication device. Back in the cell, Tracy and Ryan gathered around him. What did they want to know? Everything about Earth. Our military, our planet, our history. I think I might have said something that worried them. What? I told them the truth about humans. I think they expected us to be more like the other species they've conquered. Ryan looked out at the other prisoners in their cells. You mean peaceful? Yeah, I don't think they understand what they've gotten themselves into. Matt settled back against the wall, thinking about the expression on Captain Vekthul's face. For the first time since their capture, he felt something like hope. The Vorthak were learning about humanity, but they might not like what they discovered. And, somewhere out there, Earth had received their distress signal. War Chief Thakmor stood on the command bridge of his flagship, studying the tactical displays with growing satisfaction. The Vorthak fleet controlled this entire sector of space, with defensive positions that had never been challenged. 12 battle cruisers formed the core of his force, supported by dozens of smaller vessels and the massive prison station where the human captives were held. He had ruled this region for 15 years, expanding the Empire's territory through careful conquest of weaker species. The pattern was always the same. Identify a target, overwhelm them with superior numbers, capture their technology and useful personnel. Simple and effective. War Chief, we are detecting an energy signature at the edge of sensor range, reported. His tactical officer, Sub-Commander Nektar. Classification? Unknown, sir. The signature is unlike anything in our database. Thakmor walked to the sensor station. Show me. The display showed empty space with a single contact moving toward them at high speed. The energy readings were confusing. Sometimes the contact appeared to be one ship, sometimes multiple ships, sometimes nothing at all. Sensor malfunction? No, sir. All systems are operating normally. The target appears to be using some form of stealth technology. Thakmor felt a flicker of interest. Stealth technology was rare among the species he had encountered. Most civilizations relied on shields and armor rather than concealment. Distance and approach vector? 12 hours at current speed, approaching from Galactic north. Warchief, there's something else. We're detecting multiple secondary contacts throughout the system. The tactical display updated to show dozens of smaller energy signatures scattered across nearby space. They were moving in coordinated patterns, using asteroid fields and debris clouds for cover. How many contacts? Difficult to determine, sir. The stealth technology is very advanced. Estimate between 20 and 50 vessels. Thakmor studied the display with professional interest. Whoever was approaching had clearly studied Vorthak defensive positions and was attempting to exploit weaknesses. It showed tactical knowledge that impressed him. Open a communication channel to the approaching vessels. Channel open, Warchief. Unknown vessels. You are entering territory claimed by the Vorthak Empire. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. The response came back immediately, spoken in clear but accented Vorthak. This is Colonel Ben Parker of the Earth Colonial Marines. We're here for our people. Return them unharmed and we'll leave peacefully. Thakmor exchanged looks with his officers. Earth Colonial Marines? The humans had a military organization, sophisticated enough to track them across interstellar distances. Colonel Parker, your people are prisoners of the Empire, taken in lawful conquest. If you wish to negotiate their release, you may surrender your fleet and join them. That's not going to happen, Warchief. We're giving you one chance to do this the easy way. The easy way? Thakmor felt a surge of anger. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. You face the combined might of the Vorthak 12th Fleet, 12 battle cruisers and 47 support vessels. Surrender now, or be destroyed. Thanks for the count. That helps with targeting. Thakmor stared at the communication panel. Had the human just thanked him for revealing fleet strength? Before he could respond, his tactical officer was shouting warnings. Warchief, multiple missile launches detected, incoming from 17 different vectors. The main display exploded into activity as dozens of projectiles streaked toward the Vorthak formation. But these weren't standard missiles. They were moving in complex patterns using gravitational assists from nearby planets to change course unpredictably. Point defense systems, engage! The Vorthak ships opened fire with their defensive weapons, destroying several incoming missiles. But others had split into multiple warheads, each following a different flight path. And some weren't missiles at all but electronic warfare packages that began jamming Vorthak communications and sensors. Communication grid is compromised. I'm losing contact with outer patrol ships. Sensors are being jammed. I can't track the incoming targets. Thakmor watched in fascination as his defensive network was systematically dismantled. The human attack wasn't relying on brute force. They were using precision strikes against critical systems, coordinated across multiple ships in ways that suggested extensive planning. Sub-Commander Nektar, launch fighter squadrons, standard intercept pattern. Launching now, Warchief. 48 Vorthak fighters streaked away from the main fleet, moving in tight formations toward the estimated human positions. They had barely cleared the capital ships when new contacts appeared on the sensors. Human fighters incoming. They're using the asteroid field for cover. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner led his squadron through the rocky debris, his fighters' engines running silent to avoid detection. The human ships were smaller than the Vorthak fighters, but they moved with deadly precision through spaces that should have been impossible to navigate. Phoenix Squadron break by pairs. Use the rocks. The human fighters split up, each pair taking a different approach vector. They attacked from above and below simultaneously, using three-dimensional thinking, that caught the Vorthak pilots off guard. "They're everywhere," came a panicked transmission from one of the Vorthak pilots. "How are they moving so fast in this debris field?" Alex smiled grimly as he lined up his shot. Humans had been flying through dangerous environments since they first left Earth's atmosphere. Asteroid fields, magnetic storms, and gravitational anomalies were just another day at the office. "Target their engines, not their cockpits," he ordered his squadron. "We want prisoners for intelligence." The space battle raged for 20 minutes before the surviving Vorthak fighters retreated back to their capital ships. They had lost 31 of their 48 fighters, while the humans had lost only 3. War Chief Thakmor watched the tactical display with growing unease. His forces still outnumbered the humans significantly, but the enemy was fighting with skills and tactics he had never encountered. "War Chief, incoming transmission from the human colonel. Put it through." "War Chief Thakmor, this is your final warning. Release our people immediately." "Your fighters were impressive, Colonel, but you still face overwhelming odds. My battle cruisers will crush your small fleet." "War Chief, I don't think you understand what you're dealing with. We're not here to fight a battle. We're here to solve a problem. There's a difference." Before Thakmor could ask what the human meant, new alarms began sounding throughout his ship. "War Chief, multiple contacts approaching at high speed. They just appeared inside our defensive perimeter." The main display showed human ships emerging from behind planets and moons where they had been hiding. Captain Maria Santos and the assault ship Retribution led a formation of troop transports directly toward the prison station. "How did they get past our sensors?" "Unknown, sir. They must have been in position for hours." Thakmor realized with growing alarm that the fighter engagement had been a distraction. While his attention was focused on the space battle, human forces had been maneuvering into position for what they really wanted: the rescue of their captured people. "All ships, intercept the assault force, protect the prison station." But even as his ships moved to respond, Thakmor could see it was too late. The humans had planned this operation with a level of tactical sophistication that exceeded anything he had encountered in his military career. For the first time in 15 years of conquest, War Chief Thakmor faced an enemy that had outmaneuvered him completely. Sergeant First Class Chris Mitchell moved through the prison station's corridors with his assault team, their powered armor making almost no sound despite their size. The human Marines had cut through the station's outer hull in 12 different locations, creating multiple entry points that forced the Vorthak defenders to split their forces. "Dragon Team, this is Dragon 6, Chris spoke into his helmet communicator. "We're approaching the detention level. Resistance has been light so far." "Copy that, Dragon 6. Phoenix Team is moving to secure the control center. We should have internal sensors back online in 5 minutes." Chris paused at a corridor junction and activated his armor's scanning systems. Heat signatures showed 3 Vorthak guards around the corner, positioned to defend the approach to the prison cells. Standard defensive positioning, but they were thinking in 2 dimensions. "Mitchell to Lopez, can you get above them?" "Already there, Sergeant. Waiting for your signal." Staff Sergeant Nicole Foster dropped through a maintenance shaft directly behind the Vorthak guards. Her plasma rifle took down 2 of them before they could turn around. The 3rd guard managed to raise his weapon, but Chris had already rounded the corner and put 3-shot center mass. Area secure. Moving to the detention cells. They found the prisoners exactly where their intelligence had predicted. The Vorthak were efficient but predictable, following standard procedures that humans had analyzed during the approach to the station. Chris activated the cell controls and the energy barriers flickered off. Matt Rodriguez stood up from where he had been sitting against the wall, grinning at the sight of human Marines in full combat gear. "About time you guys showed up. Sorry for the delay, sir. Had to deal with some traffic on the way in." Tracy Adams and Ryan Bell moved quickly out of the cell, followed by the other human prisoners. They looked tired and beaten, but alive. "Where are the Zanari?" Tracy asked. "Different section. Phoenix Team is extracting them now." As they moved through the corridors toward the extraction point, they passed other cells holding prisoners from various species. Chris had orders to evacuate any non-Vorthak prisoners they encountered, and his team quickly began releasing them. "This is incredible," said Commander Sektal, the reptilian officer who had been imprisoned for 8 months. "In all my years, Fighting the Vorthak, I have never seen such precision. Dr. Lisa Carter emerged from another cell, supported by Kethvan and 2 other Zenari scientists. The aliens looked shaken by their experience, but their large eyes grew even wider when they saw the human Marines. Dr. Carter, are you injured? Chris asked. Just exhausted. But Chris, these Marines, they're so different from the research teams I'm used to working with. Chris understood what she meant. The scientist had only ever seen the peaceful side of humanity. They had never encountered humans trained specifically for violence. Ma'am, we're going to get you out of here. Stay close and follow our instructions. Exactly. The group began moving toward the extraction point, but they had only gone 50 meters when the station's internal alarms began blaring. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in red as the Vorthak Command Center realized what was happening. Dragon 6, this is command. Vorthak reinforcements are moving to your position. Multiple squads converging on detention level. Understood. Command. How long until extraction? Transport will dock in 4 minutes. Can you hold position? Chris looked at the group of prisoners behind him. 28 people, including several who could barely walk. Fighting their way to the extraction point would be dangerous for everyone. Negative, Command. Too many civilians. We'll clear a path. Dragon 6, you are outnumbered 3 to 1. Roger. That. Send reinforcements if you can, but we're moving now. Chris turned to face the prisoners. Listen carefully. We're going to move fast through hostile territory. Stay together, stay low, and do exactly what we tell you. If shooting starts, find cover, and wait for the all clear. They began moving through the station's maze of corridors. Chris could hear the sound of running feet and shouted orders in the Vorthak language getting closer. His armor's tactical display showed enemy forces moving to cut off their escape route. Contact front. Nicole Foster's voice came through the communicator as plasma fire lit up the corridor ahead. Chris moved the prisoners into a side passage and joined the firefight. The Vorthak were brave fighters, but they were used to overwhelming weaker opponents, with superior numbers. They weren't prepared for enemies who had trained for exactly this kind of close-quarters combat. The human Marines moved with lethal efficiency, using their armor and weapons to maximum advantage. They fought as a coordinated unit, covering each other's movements and maintaining constant fire discipline even in the chaos of battle. But what shocked the alien prisoners most wasn't the humans' advanced equipment. It was the controlled aggression with which they fought. These weren't soldiers reluctantly doing their duty. They were predators who had found their natural environment. How are they so calm? Kethvan whispered to Dr. Carter as plasma bolts flew over their heads. I don't know. I've never seen humans like this before. Matt Rodriguez crouched beside them, watching the Marines work. They've been training for this their whole lives. Fighting is what they do. The battle moved through several corridors as the Marines cleared a path to the extraction point. Chris coordinated his team's movements while simultaneously calling in tactical strikes against Vorthak reinforcements. Dragon 6, this is retribution. We have your extraction point secured. Bring them home. They reached the docking bay where Captain Maria Santos had positioned her assault ship. The massive vessel's weapons were providing cover fire against Vorthak forces trying to retake the station. As the prisoners filed aboard the transport, War Chief Thakmor appeared at the far end of the docking bay. The Vorthak commander was leading a final assault to prevent the escape, his personal guard surrounding him as they advanced under heavy fire. Chris stepped between the war chief and the transport, his plasma rifle aimed directly at the alien commander. For a moment, the 2 soldiers faced each other across the docking bay. Your people are safe, human. There is no need for further violence. You made it necessary when you took them. Thakmor studied the human Marine for a long moment. The armor made Chris appear even larger and more threatening, but it was the absolute confidence in his stance that impressed the war chief most. I underestimated your species. Most people do. It's usually the last mistake they make. This conflict does not end here. The Empire will not forget this humiliation. Chris lowered his rifle slightly. War Chief, let me give you some advice. Forget about revenge. Forget about the Empire's reputation. Just be grateful we came for our people and not for you. You threaten the entire Vorthak Empire? I'm not threatening anything. I'm explaining reality. You captured 28 people. We sent 1 Marine unit to get them back. If you want to see what we send when we're actually angry, keep pushing. War Chief Thakmor stared at the human marine for several seconds. Then he slowly lowered his own weapon and stepped back. Perhaps diplomacy would be more appropriate in future encounters. That would be wise. Chris backed toward the transport, his rifle still ready but no longer aimed directly at the war chief. As the ship undocked from the station, he could see Thakmor standing in the docking bay watching them leave. The rescue was complete, but Chris knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were really capable of when their people were threatened. 3 months after the rescue of the New Horizon crew, Admiral Patricia Hayes stood before the Galactic Council for the first time in human history. The massive chamber on the neutral world of Kepler Station housed representatives from 47 different species, but today all attention was focused on the human delegation. Ambassador Veltar had arranged this meeting after weeks of urgent diplomatic communications. The Vorthak Empire had requested mediation, claiming that humanity posed a threat to galactic stability. Other species wanted answers about human military capabilities that had remained hidden for 50 years. Honored representatives, Patricia began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. I am Admiral Patricia Hayes of Earth's Deep Space Command. I'm here to address concerns about recent events involving human military forces. The Vorthak delegation sat in the section reserved for warrior species. War Chief Thakmor was present, though he looked different from their last encounter. The confident aggression he had shown during the prison station assault was gone, replaced by wary respect. Admiral Hayes, spoke Chancellor Morden of the Hegemony, the Vorthak Empire claims that humanity launched an unprovoked military assault against their territory. They request Council intervention to prevent future aggression. Patricia turned to face the Vorthak delegation. War Chief Thakmor, would you please tell the Council why our forces entered your territory? Thakmor stood slowly. Human forces entered Empire space to retrieve prisoners taken in lawful conquest. Prisoners. Could you be more specific about these prisoners? 23 humans and 5 Zanari scientists from a disabled research vessel. A disabled civilian vessel that you attacked without provocation and whose crew you took prisoner. The chamber erupted in whispers as the translation systems carried Patricia's words to dozens of species. The Galactic Council had strict laws about attacking civilian vessels, laws that the Vorthak had apparently violated. Chancellor Mordun called for order. War Chief Thakmor, is this accurate? The vessel was in territory claimed by the Empire. Standard conquest protocols were followed. Standard conquest protocols, Patricia repeated. War Chief, how many other species have you conquered using these protocols? The Empire has brought order to 17 systems over the past 3 centuries. More, whispers filled the chamber. Many species had heard rumors about Vorthak expansion, but this was the first official confirmation of their aggressive policies. 17 species conquered, Patricia said, letting the words hang in the air. And in all those conquests, did any species ever come to retrieve their people? Thakmor was quiet for a long moment. No. Why do you think that is? Other species lack the military capability for such operations, Patricia nodded. Or perhaps they lack the will. Tell me, War Chief, what was your assessment of human military doctrine after our encounter? The Vorthak commander shifted uncomfortably. Human forces demonstrated tactical capabilities beyond our previous experience. Could you elaborate? Your species appears to view warfare as a natural state requiring constant preparation. Your soldiers fight with controlled aggression that suggests extensive training in violence. The chamber had gone completely silent. Representatives from peaceful species looked shocked, while those from warrior cultures leaned forward with interest. War Chief, Thakmor speaks accurately, Patricia said. Humanity has been preparing for interstellar warfare since our first contact with alien species, not because we sought conflict, but because we learned long ago that peace must be backed by strength. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. For 50 years, while we appeared to be peaceful traders and explorers, we were also building defensive capabilities, hidden bases, advanced weapons, trained military forces ready to respond to exactly the situation the Vorthak created. Dr. Amanda Ross stepped forward from the human delegation. Honored representatives, I've prepared a briefing on human evolutionary development that explains our military capabilities. The display changed to show images of Earth's surface. Humanity evolved on what galactic xenobiology classifies as a Class 12 death world. Surface gravity nearly twice galactic standard. Extreme weather patterns including electromagnetic storms and seismic activity. Predatory species capable of killing adult humans. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the images showed hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, and various Earth predators. Most significantly, humanity's evolutionary history includes constant warfare between competing groups. We estimate our species has fought over 10,000 significant conflicts in recorded history alone. Chancellor Morden looked stunned. 10,000 wars? Competition and conflict drove human development for millennia, Dr. Ross continued. We didn't achieve spaceflight despite our violent nature. We achieved it because of the technological advancement that violence produced. Patricia retook the center of the chamber. The Galactic Council operates on the assumption that intelligent species naturally tend toward peaceful cooperation. For most of you, this is true. Your worlds were gentle enough to allow the luxury of pure intellectual development. She paused, looking around the chamber at representatives from dozens of peaceful species. Earth was not gentle. Our world produced a species that considers warfare a normal part of existence. We don't fight because we're evil or aggressive by choice. We fight because anything that threatened humans on Earth was eliminated, and anything that couldn't eliminate threats was eaten. Ambassador Veltar stood from the Zanari section. Admiral Hayes, your species has been peaceful partners with the Zanari for 50 years. We had no knowledge of these military preparations. Ambassador, humanity values our partnership with your people, but friendship doesn't change what we are. When our people are threatened, we respond according to our nature. She turned back to the full council. The Vorthak Empire learned this when they took our civilians prisoner. They discovered that humans don't accept conquest. We come for our people, no matter the cost, no matter the distance, no matter the odds. War Chief Thakmor stood again. The Empire wishes to negotiate peaceful coexistence with humanity. That can be arranged, Patricia replied. Return the territories you've taken from other species. Release all prisoners. Cease expansion into areas where peaceful species have established colonies. And if the Empire refuses? Patricia's expression didn't change, but something in her voice made the entire chamber go quiet. War Chief, you've seen what we do when 28 of our people are taken prisoner. I wouldn't recommend finding out what we do when entire species ask for our protection. The negotiations that followed established humanity's new role in galactic affairs. They would continue to be peaceful traders and explorers, but they would also serve as protectors for species that couldn't protect themselves. Captain Jake Morrison returned to command of the New Horizon, but now the ship carried discreet weapons and a small marine detachment. Dr. Lisa Carter resumed her research partnership with Kethvan, though their relationship had changed. The Zanari scientist now understood that his gentle human colleague was part of a species that viewed violence as problem-solving. The rescue mission had revealed humanity's true nature to the galaxy. They were not conquerors seeking to build an empire through force. They were something more dangerous. Apex predators who had learned to build civilizations without losing their edge. The Vorthak Empire began withdrawing from conquered territories. Within weeks, other aggressive species that had been expanding into peaceful regions suddenly found themselves reconsidering their plans. The galaxy had learned that Earth hadn't just produced intelligent life. It had forged a species that would cross interstellar distances to protect their own and stand against any threat to the peace they valued. The age of human expansion had begun, not through conquest, but through the simple recognition that when Deathworlders decide to protect something, the universe pays attention.